Matt Harmon here from Reception Perception. Today, we're going to take a look at Drake London's 2023 profile to tell you why he's a really good wide receiver, but more importantly, why he's a really good fit in this offense and with this new quarterback. Let's get into it. All right, so Drake London, Falcons wide receiver. We see here his route charts from Reception Perception, receptionperception.com. If you're not subscribed, please make sure you are. We just dropped a bunch of new profiles on free agents, guys who got traded, and guys who got a big quarterback upgrade, like Drake London. So the thing that I think is really just is a misunderstanding with Drake London is this guy is a separator, man. I mean, he is a really good route runner in the short to intermediate area. You see the slant route success rate, 82.7%. Curl route success rate, 84.5%, and 79.3% on the dig route. Now, the downfield separation, I think that's where some of the, Drake London doesn't get open kind of hate comes from. It's definitely not there. 52% is on the lower mark, but only 9.9% of his total routes. That was interesting to me. It's just not a guy that's going to get downfield necessarily, but he does win downfield in contested situations. You see that all over the place on his film. He can get open in the underneath area, and then downfield when you want him to make big plays, he can get open on those corner routes, baby. Corner routes, out routes. He's gonna get you open plays in the vertical game down the field. It's just like the straight go routes, sometimes unlodging from defensive contact on post routes. That's maybe not where you're going to get the best version of Drake London. Overall, success rate versus coverage scores, 68th percentile against man coverage, 77th percentile against zone coverage, and really the big number here, 76.5% success rate against press, 81st percentile. When you're up in that 81st percentile range against press coverage, we don't see a lot of historical failures when it comes to this range. Like, this is a good spot for us to have Drake London in. Overall, I don't have a lot of questions about him as a player. I think he's a really good, young, ascending wide receiver. I don't see the separation concerns. This guy's a pure X receiver, 85%, 82.4% of his sample snaps on the line of scrimmage in his first 2 years in the NFL. The fact that he is playing that X receiver position, he's running against press man coverage, and he's still getting open at this rate. I mean, it's not crazy, right? If you're familiar with perception, we love anything for outside receivers over 70%. That's typically a good window. It's not an elite tier score, but for a guy that's this prototype, this archetype of wide receiver, we're good with that. I'm a fan. Okay, so Drake London, good player, but what I really want to focus on for Drake London is why he's a particularly good fit in this offense with this quarterback. Now, the Falcons hire Raheem Morris, defensive coordinator from the Rams. He's got a long experience in this kind of coaching tree. I'm a big fan of Raheem Morris. Everybody talks really highly of him. The hire, though, at offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, former passing game coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, I think is key. And I love the way that a lot of the players, but especially Drake London, map to this particular offense. I want to bring up a quote from the Super Bowl interview I did with Puka Nacua, where he tells me what his favorite route to run is. I'm going to bring that video up here. I told you before the interview, I love receivers, love steady receivers. What is the best route that you feel like you run? And I'm going to tell you if I think you're right.
Oh, a dagger, a dig cut for sure, easy. That's the number one. I think we run it a lot of different ways, and I feel like that's the one I catch it, whether you're catching a high one over the middle where you got to jump up and kind of brace yourself for a hit, or you get one running full speed, like high Tyreek be rolling through those dig cuts sometimes. There's a lot of satisfaction in catching that ball.
See, to me, that was when I knew. So, and I told Puka this, he's 100% right. You see 24% dig routes in his rookie report sample. So that was the first half of the season. He was good on those routes, 76.5%. Later in the interview, I told him that was when I knew, by the way, just side note, that Puka Nacua was the real deal. Like his college profile, but we knew he was the real deal in week one when he had an over 80% success rate against man coverage in his reception perception sample, and a lot of it was running big boy dig routes against man coverage, zone coverage as well too. He smashed zone coverage in this particular route. So this was, again, 24% of his sampled routes were these dig routes. When he's talking about dagger, that's when the inside receiver runs a vertical route. The receiver that Puka's going to line up as off the line of scrimmage, he's going to run an in-cut, that dig route. They made some huge plays on that route over the course of Puka Nakua's rookie season in the Rams offense. So I love this for Drake London, because I'll bring up a play from Drake London here. He can smash on those routes. As we noted earlier from his profile from last year, dig route success rate, pretty good for Drake London, 79.3%. Again, I want to bring up a play here that shows what I'm talking about. So Drake London is at the top of your screen here. He's the off-ball outside receiver. He's going to run a big dig route. The inside receiver there is going to take the defense vertical. Let's take a look. A lot of comfort from Drake London, winning a tight coverage play on this route. We'll see it from the other angle here. Actually, by the way, let's rewind it. Let's talk about this here, because this is where the quarterback problem here for Atlanta is an issue. Like, this ball should be out, okay? You should have had this ball out. I'd give it right about, here. Like, that ball should be out by now. Drake London should have space to run after this play. Because it's Desmond Ridder, it becomes a tight contested catch over the middle of the field. Now, I mean, it's a pretty good window for Ridder to fit that thing in there. I don't think Ridder is a completely worthless quarterback. I think he's just a deeply flawed quarterback. But again, takes those hitches, gets that thing in there to Drake London. It's a big-time catch from Drake London. So let's go back to his profile again. 79.3% success rate on digs, 11.5% of his total routes. I want to bring up his 22 profile, where I think the Falcons offense actually ran a lot better. 80% success rate on the digs and a lot more dig routes. Again, I think this is interesting because what we just saw in that last clip, I don't think Desmond Ridder is good working over the middle of the field. I actually think he works kind of the outside better. He just takes too long to, I see it, I throw it, I get it out there. That was a big problem in Arthur Smith's offense last year with Desmond Ridder, and it affected the route tree for Drake London. In my opinion, that's why you see the curl routes go up here to 23%. The dig routes come down. The slant routes come down compared to what we saw in that rookie season for Drake London, when there wasn't a lot of curls and there were more slants, more digs. And this comes back to Kirk Cousins here, because Kirk Cousins, according to Fantasy Points data, led all quarterbacks with a 150.6 passer rating on when he's throwing in routes and deep / mid-level crossing routes last year. And in 2022, he led all quarterbacks on completions and attempts throwing to those routes. So you can see where there's a beautiful overlap of Drake London in terms of his over-the-middle route running, that separation that we talked about earlier on the slants, on the digs. Curl routes, not kind of that same thing, but anything working over the middle, this offense requires it of the number one receiver, as Puka told us earlier. Drake London can run those routes, and Kirk Cousins is the quarterback to throw those routes. I think it's going to be tough to not get overly excited about Drake London. Obviously, from a fantasy perspective, from a dynasty perspective, just shoot. As one of the top breakout wide receiver candidates, like true breakout wide receiver candidates this coming season, it's going to be hard not to steam him up too much. It's going to be hard not to get overexcited. But again, that's what reception perception shows us. He's a good young player. It's a perfect fit for what he's going to be asked to do in this offense with this quarterback. The excitement is real. The hype is real for Drake London. Everything just kind of overlaps here for this player on a clear upward trajectory, of course, as long as Kirk Cousins stays and is healthy entering the season. All right, that's it for this video. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. Check out all the other content we've got here at receptionperception.com. Get yourself a subscription today. Subscribe to the podcast. And again, like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you. See you on the next one.